Welcome. I'm Liz Taylor, ocean explorer, naturalist, and entrepreneur.
And I'm Sylvia Earle, explorer in residence, National Geographic and ocean elder, founder of Mission Blue.
This is our show, Dive In, where we host informal and open conversations with the ocean community from around the world on topics of wonder and interest. This special year-end AMA is dedicated to our friend and co-producer Arnold, who recently passed away. The AMA format was one of his very favorites. So let's get ready to dive in.
Yes, Arnold, this is for you. We love you. And thank you for the inspiration and the guidance that made this whole adventure possible.
Indeed.
Along with ocean elders and Gigi Brisson and lots of friends and followers.
And as we get going, we need to remember that.
Yes, the world is
it's
blue. And we should dive in.
Dive in, absolutely.
Well, this is in kind of warmish water, even though it looks kind of gray. But why not anywhere, like in our backyard here in
California?
In the Bay Area.
Yeah, well, this is actually Catalina, but we wanted to just start off today.
Could be right here. There are places right in Alameda where this is possible.
It's true. It's very true here in the Bay Area, particularly. But as we get going here, we're going to go through a few slides, and then we will open it up to AMA. Ask us anything.
AUA.
Yes. And you can put your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll get through as many as we can. And we have some from past episodes too that we brought back that we may draw on upon as well. And we should have the raise your hand feature active, and Gigi will let us know when we have raised hands, and we'll call out on you.
We should have raised flippers.
Flippers, okay. And keep if you do the raise your hand, please keep your answer or your question short, and we will so we can get through as many as possible. So again, talking about this water access, this is right here in Alameda, the Seaplane Lagoon, but the only paddlers out there are these ducks.
They paddle under the surface.
So but it's a great time, being everybody's still socially isolated and needing to keep distance.
Even the ducks are keeping their distance.
Yes, they are. They're 6 feet apart, but
2 meters.
But really, it's a great time to get out on the water wherever you happen to be it a lake or a bay or the ocean on a quiet day, and get out on a paddleboard or a kayak, or put on some snorkel. Put on a snorkel. Artists are doing great things right now. This is one of our favorite artists,
Taylor Griffith. Yes,
who went out and
the talent.
He went out and did a dive in, found these wonderful turtles, and then created a piece that will hopefully provoke thought in people. This is recovered fishing net from Mexico that was taken in the area where the vaquita are so endangered.
Yeah.
And then so these are things that people can do. Be you an artist or anyone else, there's lots of things that you can do as individuals to make a difference.
Check it out. Look in the mirror. Who are you?
And communicate these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a couple of items that we had in our little store down in Alameda. Again, companies that are stepping up and looking for ways that they can really make a difference.
Explain what this is.
We will later on.
No, not now.
But here's the problem. Sometimes your pets get in there and they start taking your dryer ball, and it turns into a pet toy.
Well, let me see it. Oh, it's too big for my mouth.
Stop it. Bee-friendly gardens, plant gardens that are pollinator friendly. This bumblebee was just kind of snoozing here in one of our artichoke plants.
I think he was actually pigging out.
He ate so much. This is like after a holiday dinner, right? You can't move. So.
Oh, imagine a bed made of lavender petals.
It's great when they finally do manage to get themselves up and out of these flowers. They have these massive saddlebags of purple pollen on their legs.
Yeah,
it's really great. So planting things that are edible for you and support pollinators is a great thing that everyone can do.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that this is what an artichoke turns into when the bud that people tend to eat is allowed to stay in place and then opens up into this amazing flower. I mean, I'd plant artichokes for the beautiful flowers they actually turn into.
We plant a lot of artichokes.
Yeah, we do.
Because we like the bumblebees too.
Yeah, some
and the
for
other,
us, some for them.
Some for them. That's a great way to do it. And you know, again, planting some edibles, reducing the size of your lawn, and planting some things that you can eat, and as well as some flowers that are attractive to pollinators.
Right in your backyard. It doesn't take much space to actually have some, maybe you can't sustain yourself, but you can certainly complement your diet with some really, really good things. And it's good for your soul too.
That's right. And the body. So,
and the bees.
Yeah. And the bees. So, you know, right here we've got, well, obviously you've got the corn, but we have some peas, some beans, avocado, peach, kale, strawberries, mulberries, and an apple tree all in this one picture. So
have to sort through those leaves. Oh, and the cabbages.
And the cabbages. I mean, what a wonderful plant this is. So beautiful. So, you know, while we're all concerned, you know, about making cabbage, but let's grow some too.
Two kinds of green.
Two kinds of green. And then, you know, get out there and explore. These are just a few of the little simple pieces, you know, snorkel.
Oh, mask.
Mask.
My favorite kind of mask.
Yeah, I know. And a pair of fins on your feet, and it just opens up 70% of the planet right there. You can get out on the water.
Yep. Onward and downward.
And for the deeper sections, we've got these guys. This is our
coming soon.
Our real hope for 2021 is that we will finally see these submersibles finished up for you. And
for all of us. Look, it takes 3 people, 2 subs, that's half a dozen people. And anybody can drive and go down to 1,000 meters. I mean, come on, we've got to do this. I love diving, but I can only go so deep.
That's right.
This still doesn't go quite deep enough, but it's a lot deeper than I can go holding my breath or with scuba or even with rebreathers.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get down there where the action is.
We do. And so now we are going to go to some of the questions.
All right, here we go. Huh?
All right, here, let's see.
Do we, are we full screen now?
Yep, Gigi's got that under control. And so we are going to say, we're going to start off with a question from Terry, who says, how can we get to go diving with you here in the Bay Area?
There's a great question.
Well,
you have an answer for that, don't you?
That's true, but nothing, unfortunately, in the Bay Area, you know, people that are already as groups diving together, they have their dive buddy or their family group or a small pod that they're diving with.
Pods.
There's lots of opportunities to still go out, you know, dive in the Monterey area, or go a little bit north, or all the way down.
A little clearer,
or go south to Catalina, if you're down in that area. But it's
go west to Hawaii.
Well, not right now. Right now, everybody's still kind of taking good care and being careful with the pandemic.
But soon.
But soon, and we're hopeful that you know, as things kind of vaccine gets underway and people are very careful, continuing to be careful, that we'll have opportunities to get back out onto the, not just here in the Bay Area, but be able to get out wherever you are. And we're going to, of course, keep up these dive-in sessions and get people more interested that way, and hopefully be able to buddy dive with people.
We'll figure it out. I haven't been actually submerged except in the shower and the bathtub since last March. I was fortunate to go to the Seychelles, but after the shutdown, I have tried to behave myself and only get my gills wet when I take a bath. But I'm really optimistic that 2021 is going to be, you know, a year when we can all dive in, those of us. And if you haven't done it yet, this is a great year to start. And you have this place in Alameda, the Dive and Discover, what is it called? The Explorer Store.
The Deep Ocean Explorer Store.
Yeah.
So yeah, anybody that's in the Bay Area can come by and we'll connect you and find ways to get
you wet.
Get you wet. Absolutely.
And I'll see if there are enough people who are really interested in making a dive in here in the Bay. I've only done it, very rarely. Why? Because it's cold and it's murky. And when you think about what goes into the Bay, you're not sure you want to put yourself in that Bay. But on the other hand, we got the Oyster Project that's really working hard to clean up the Bay. And meanwhile, even right here, even though it's murky, even though it's cold, you can see some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Growing on the pilings, growing on the rocks. You just have to know what to look for and have that perceptive attitude.
And it is now a mission. All the different hope spots are like this, right? Where people are getting more directly.
Bay is a hope spot.
It is, and other hope spots as well. So for everybody that's out there, look at the Mission Blue site, see where your closest hope spot is, and really get involved. And that's how the water quality will be restored in these areas. And if
your life will be better.
Your life will be better. You get out there, and swimming's great exercise.
It sure is.
Okay, we'll jump back in here.
Okay, next one.
Emily is asking, if you had to dedicate yourself to conserving just one marine organism or ecosystem, which one would it be?
Well, if you save blue whales, really, you'd have to save the ocean. If you save almost any species, it would require, it's like there are places, the attitude of, to save tigers, you have to save what it takes to make tigers happy, a forest. So you could pick up almost anything and say, if you can save the vaquita, if you really can do that, think of what an impact that would be on the world. And if we lose the vaquita, again, that's a gap that we can never fill. People ask me sometimes, what's your favorite sea creature? And I say, you're looking at her, or look in the mirror. That's humans. We're sea creatures as dependent on the ocean as any starfish or coral reef. We need the ocean. So to save us, we have to save the ocean. All ties together.
All right. Anna is asking us, what progress has been made on blue carbon and financing for it, such as identifying marine coastal areas of high carbon storage and value and finding public or private sponsors for these efforts to conserve these through carbon finance?
Well, everybody listening may not be tuned into blue carbon, but it's a pretty straightforward concept that every living thing is a carbon-based unit. You are, I am, cats and dogs are, trees certainly are. And in fact, there are carbon credits that have gotten traction for protecting trees because they capture and sequester carbon. That concept has gone blue with particular reference to mangroves trees, seagrass meadows, marshes, all of these coastal systems, but it's also extending out into the bluer part of the ocean where the forests that are tiny, the plankton forests, and the kelp forests, which are not tiny, they're big, but they also capture and sequester carbon. But it also goes as far as all the fish,
right?
All of the shrimp, all of the lobsters. And at the World Economic Forum earlier this year in Davos, there's a big hoo-ha over whales, big carbon capture and holding units, if you will. Save the whales, capture the carbon, a value of a whale alive for its carbon value. There are economists at this gathering of brainy people who crunch numbers and try to relate the economic health of the planet to the environmental health, and whales became a real topic of conversation in this regard. That if you took all of the living whales today and put a dollar value for their blue carbon value, we're talking more than trillion dollars of carbon value if we just think of what's a whale alive worth. Of course, there's some immeasurable values of whales alive.
Exactly. just their
aesthetic value.
Their aesthetics, the way that they really help us to connect to, give us a large iconic animal to connect to.
The poetry.
Yeah.
The fact that we shouldn't have to put a dollar value on the whale of any living thing.
No.
But we are now. I mean, if you have to justify it in terms of dollars and cents, think about the value of a live tuna.
Oh, yeah.
Versus a dead tuna.
It's just an incredible difference.
We don't know how to make a tuna. But it's, we're just, I think, at that point where people are starting to think about the value of life in the ocean, in nature, versus like the board feet of lumber or a living tree. A pile of feathers that you can sell to make whatever it is you want to make out of feathers, or a live bird. It's a matter of value. It isn't just the cost of something.
Right. And it's really, just this change of attitude that we really shouldn't be in a situation where we're profiting off of wildlife.
Yeah.
We're kind of beyond that.
Biggest wildlife trade on the planet is fish.
Mm-hmm.
They're all wildlife.
They are.
Just saying.
Okay. Nahal is asking, are there any corollary organizations that facilitate ocean cleanups like beach cleanups that supply snorkeling bags, etc., for those who are certified? We'd love to take up cleanup while snorkeling. And that's a great thing. I mean, there are a lot of groups, there are a lot of dive shops out there that rent snorkeling kits, snorkeling gear. We, of course, with COVID, we've really recommended that people find a mask and snorkel that they like and just make that their own.
Yeah,
and then keep it, and then just rent the other equipment that you need. If it's a wetsuit or skins or the fins, whatever that happens to be. But the truth of the matter is that there's an enormous amount of debris right below the surface.
Yeah.
And
plastic does sink.
Plastic sinks. And, we had the experience of taking the ROV Lulukai down to 4,000 meters. And the very first thing that we saw when we turned on the camera in Hawaii was a Dasani water bottle, which is like, why? But it all starts near shore, and it's the best place to start capturing that debris.
Don't let it, or where the rivers, or try not to let it get in the ocean in the first place.
Right. If you can keep it from getting in the ocean in the first place, awesome. But a lot of it is there. A lot of it's old, bottles and cans and so forth that are there, and fishing gear and things of this nature that are laying around that are easy to pick up. Of course, wear gloves and get it into like a, mesh bag of some sort, bring it back and dispose of it properly.
So the first organization that I'm aware of that started doing this was called the Center for Marine Conservation. It's now Ocean Conservancy. They really pioneered beach cleanups, including dive-ins, to really organize those who want to join in and become a part of the action. I don't know whether they actually supply gear, but I think Liz is spot on. You should at least get your very own mask, snorkel. Flippers, they'd be nice too, because you get something that fits and is comfortable.
Right, but you want to check. They can be a little bit expensive, like shoes. So you want to try some on and find a pair that you really like.
But whatever it takes, go for it. And you can get a lot just in the area that you can snorkel. I've done. I can't say it's my share. I've done a lot of. It's like a treasure hunt.
It is.
It's like modern archaeology. Where did this stuff come from? Can we return it to the sender?
I know, exactly. And sometimes you can. You can put it up on the Literati app and, kind of let these manufacturers know.
Claim your goods.
Claim your goods and let them know that they've got a problem in their manufacturing schemes. Okay, so SOS Oceanos is asking us, what do you think about ocean pollution by plastic?
Well, what do you think? Bad news.
Here, look. Refuse single-use plastic.
Yeah, get it in
Job
there
one.
close.
Job one.
Yeah.
Wherever you can, try to avoid the single-use plastic to begin with.
Mhm.
And then, if you find it in your environment, grab it up.
Where's that
Try
straw?
to get it to recycling. Oh yeah, there's always, the metal straw is a great thing. This one's for milkshakes. It's got a spoon built in. but things like that you can just do in your daily lives when you're expecting a package to come. Go back to these manufacturers and say, bring us, don't send me bubble wrap. Send me, use these little
recycled bits of cardboard.
Mm-hmm. Things that we can easily repurpose, reuse, and just keep the plastic out of the ocean.
That's the plastics coalition, those cups.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Plastics Pollution Coalition. Check them out online. Go online and ask your question and see what kind of answers you get. There are a number of organizations. I think it's such a new problem. I mean, I come from the pre-plasticozoic era. When I was a kid, plastics were just beginning to be appreciated and realized, and really nobody threw something made out of plastic away. Tupperware, goods. I still have Tupperware that belonged to my mother.
Yeah.
And we still will use it. We wash it, put it away. It's not treated as a throwaway thing. That's the problem. It's not these materials have actually served us well, the synthetic materials. And it's now that we're kind of into it as much as we are, it's going to be, I think the way forward is to think about how to deal with them responsibly. And recycle is a part of this responsible use of these amazing materials. And it's irresponsible to create something that you use once and toss, because there is no way. That's the thing. It's just become a part of the world forever.
Yeah.
Either in a large form, or when it breaks down to micro form, microplastics, and even smaller to nanoplastics, to the molecular level. That's when it gets into the air, it gets into the water, it gets into the soil, it gets into you, it's in your body. It can get into your bloodstream because it's small enough that it passes through cell walls. I mean, what are we thinking? Well, obviously we weren't thinking. It seemed like such a good idea at the time. It's not a totally bad idea. It's just we have to think it through and be responsible going forward.
Yep. So
avoid it where you can. Yeah.
Avoid it where you can.
Yep.
Sabrina's asking, I'm an aspiring marine biologist with a BS in marine biology. Mm-hmm. What's your advice on how to get my foot, and maybe flipper, in the door and succeed here in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Well, the eternal question, and there is no one size fits all answer. But in general, if you can see where someone is doing something that you think you'd like to be doing that too, whether it's working with fish or working as a teacher, you actually, as a kid, volunteered at the Steinhardt Aquarium.
I did, at the original Steinhardt.
Yep.
And that is a great way. I mean, both the, we're collaborating now with the Aquarium of the Bay, who just recently started a citizen science diving program there. Mm-hmm. So we're working with those guys, and you can work through that program and get your your certifications, and then you can volunteer at the aquarium as one of their divers. The new Steinhardt probably has a similar program as well, but it's a great place to start off
and to get in the circle of people who can get have your back, if you will, and recommend you and know you and make the connections. Those personal connections are priceless. And it may seem, I can't volunteer, I need to work. Well, I understand that, and maybe there's some way to do both, but to associate yourself with those who are doing what you really want to do. And if you can, find a way to pack in as much education formally as you can, get the credentials. And in so doing, you put yourself in the company of the professionals who can guide you, and again, recommend you from a personal standpoint. I used to, as a student, I did get paid, but not much, but I did it anyway, just because, to wash glassware, to volunteer, or to just be a part of the science department that I was associated with. And you get to be a part of the action. That's why being part of the action at an aquarium, or check out the National Marine Sanctuary. They need volunteers. They need help. And in so doing, you meet the people who are kind of doing the things that maybe you want to get involved with too.
Yep.
But take a summer class if you can. If you can't do it during the regular year, just make a pest of yourself. In the end, those who are doing what you aspire to do really love having kids come along who want to become what they are. And it's surprising. It's wonderful how you can find champions who will help get you to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. And environmental science companies are also another areas we're seeing a lot more focus on sort of coastal restoration efforts and resiliency efforts. That, you may not get to do as much diving per se with some of those groups, but you'll still be able to put your talents into making a real difference for the ocean in looking at these things upstream. And
even with the diving community, if you haven't already picked up a mask and fins and dived in, consider that there is a community of people who get underwater. And it's a cross-section of scientists, of car mechanics, of teachers, of people who just love the ocean. And those connections really pay off. You'll make friends who can see that you're sincere and will, give you a hand. Sometimes all it takes is somebody just reaching out and giving you a lift at the right moment. I had plenty of people doing that for me.
And keep a healthy dose of tenacity and grit going too.
Oh yeah. Don't give up.
No, never give up.
Of course, do everything you can to educate yourself. You can do that today in ways that simply not available not too many years ago.
Very true.
So
Kareem is asking us, solar seems to have so much trash associated with it. There's only so much lithium in the ground. What wave and tidal technologies have you heard of that sound optimistically feasible?
I think solar is in that league. I really do. Lithium, it's true, there's only so much of anything on this planet. This is a finite source, Earth. But we are getting better at taking the lithium that we've got and not just throwing it away. Single-use lithium is a stupid thing. Now, if it's in combination with other elements, you have to work to extract back to a source that can be used again. But it's if making the effort, making it a priority. I think of all the ways that are out there, the capturing of sunlight has to be in the lead. Wind is another promising source, but there's a lot of throwaway there too. A lot of infrastructure, a lot of cabling, a lot of battery. And there you go back to the lithium issue or other metals that are in finite supply, but they're, it's not that they shouldn't be used, but maybe going forward, there are other materials, not just the ones that are difficult and expensive right now, like nickel and cobalt, lithium. So,
but the passive systems, that could potentially use tidal or wave action, there have been a few that have come along, but the biggest problem with them seems to be that they tend to get so much biofouling very quickly.
You call it fouling, I say. It's a
okay.
habitat for critters.
Habitat, right? It's a flat surface. Creatures are going to settle out on it. This is what happens.
Yeah, and they take up space.
And it does take up space, but. And, then there's been a discussion about, well, putting it down deeper into the water where you don't have as much sunlight and it could slow down the bio growth.
Thank you.
But then the problem becomes is that unless it's in an area that's got fairly high current, then you don't have enough water movement, or it's not reliable enough. In the areas that have a high current, we've seen people working on this in the Bay of Fundy, for instance, where you have a lot of big tidal surge and flow, and it just destroys the equipment. But it's such a dynamic environment. I think we still have a lot more work to do there. And there are materials you could use like copper that generally discourage settling of invertebrates.
Poisons them.
Stop it. But in any event, there may be ways in the future. Right now, it seems that there's just maybe some micro areas that you could do that in. There's some companies that are doing sort of very small freshwater turbines that can be used in like in a creek or a stream to generate small amounts of electricity on a local level. But they too have an impact because, little creatures do get sucked through and, you can have problems.
Hydroelectric power is touted as clean energy, but there's a big cost in putting dams in for hydroelectric power.
For the freshwater, in the ocean side. I mean, I think it's an area that we still bear some investigation, but it's just going to take time to find and real care to find out, what materials are going to survive in that environment. We've built a lot of prototypes for people, and they last a good long time, some of them, but it takes one big storm event to just kind of wreak havoc on like the cabling or some other aspect of it. So it's a tricky.
And those giant wind farms, those blades don't last, well, very long, decades, but then what do you do with them?
Yeah.
What do you do with them? They're burying them.
Well, some people are looking at upcycling them now.
Yeah, but the fact is that
there's a lot are sitting there in landfills.
They just get trashed. So to answer your question, get busy.
Use less.
Think about solutions, and it is an avenue for real economic return right now. We need to solve this problem. We need to generate energy to power our society in a way that has a much lighter touch than coal, oil, gas, and some of the current technologies that look as though they're more favorable. But hydroelectric, really a problem because of the way that you command a river and all the other uses that the wild creatures that nature needs that flow of water for. We hijack it for our purposes.
Yeah,
we're seeing great cost.
We're seeing that problem happening right now in Apalachicola, Florida, where upstream a number of dams and so forth have been used to kind of choke off the water supply, the freshwater supply that would normally come into Apalachicola Bay.
Right.
And as a result, the oysters that were world renowned have died. And
they
right
don't get enough of the right stuff.
Enough of the right stuff,
including
and so
fresh water.
Yeah, right. So the salinity is wrong. It's also, you're getting more concentrated pulses of agricultural waste coming downstream, and so that's
a lot of bad stuff and not enough of the good stuff.
Yeah. So these things do all have impact, and it's one of the best things we can do is just do what we can to use less energy, less electricity, and particularly at nighttime. Why do we have so much superfluous nighttime lighting? I mean, honestly,
I know.
It's just an incredible waste, and it comes at a cost.
Yep.
So
you fly over the country at night, it looks like
it's on fire.
It does. Well, it is on fire.
Yeah.
We're burning fossil fuels, and so it is. We've put the world on fire.
Yeah, we can do better.
We surely can. Now that we know, that's the thing. It's knowing that gives me hope that we'll figure this out. We have to.
And every one of you can help by, demanding better of your political leaders.
And yourself.
And yourself, of course.
Start with you.
So Carolyn is a middle school teacher, and
Bravo.
let's see, her question is, will you celebrate the 75th anniversary of scuba diving with Jean-Michel Cousteau?
Well, I celebrated the 50th anniversary of it.
And she's also asking us to tell them a little bit more about the submersibles that we should.
Yeah, right. Well, I have a date with Jean-Michel for my 100th birthday. It's out there somewhere. Anyway, we're going to go submerge to celebrate. So I think we probably will on the 75th or whatever it takes.
Yeah, and then hopefully, let's get those subs built. You know, there's there's a project called Deep Hope that we're working on.
Right.
If you go to deephope.org, you can get a lot more information about that.
Deephope.org, right on.
And we really look forward to getting those little subs finished and out there working in the hope spots and other hope spots yet to be, and giving people a real opportunity to
get the kids and the teachers. We need
teachers in the sea. We need the students in the sea, and really seeing is believing. And so, I mean, again, snorkeling and diving are great ways to get started.
You bet.
But to get below diver depth and to really do meaningful observations for long periods of time, the same way that a terrestrial biologist enjoys that luxury, then we really do need these little subs to get out there and just spend meaningful time, have that gift of time underwater.
Hours and hours. I spent the night in a little sub off the coast of Mexico a few years ago.
Yeah, the diving supervisor was not super happy about that. He's like, every 15 minutes, check the O2, check this. And you just kind of ignored them sometimes. It's bad.
I was not asleep. Couldn't be asleep. Oh, goodness, there was so much to see. I went in at sunset and came back at dawn. And it was actually on my birthday.
Yeah.
Another
good way to spend a birthday. That's right.
Submerged.
Lance is asking us, with the powers that be in Washington denying climate change, is there anyone in government listening to NOAA and its data?
Wait until the 20th of January. John Kerry will be in a position of authority. There's a new climate czar. McCarthy is her name. She rocks, and I think we'll see a new day, a new year, a new life, a new wave of commitment. And I've actually seen a quote from John Kerry, who has said, former Secretary of State, he said, you cannot solve the climate issue if you don't protect the ocean, and you can't protect the ocean unless you solve the climate problem. So it's ocean and climate like this. That we have neglected looking at the ocean historically in terms of how the ocean governs climate, shapes climate, and weather, oh, by the way. But we're now getting to a point where the science is there, the policy is going to catch up, and I think by this time next year, we'll see literally a sea change.
Certainly hope so.
Both for the ocean and for climate, because I think the new administration gets it. So we have to make up for
a lot of lost time.
Lost time. That's really, but rejoining the Paris Agreement and really taking a leadership role at a time when the world needs leadership in this respect.
Mm-hmm. And I really look forward, hopefully, to seeing NOAA and other government agencies really re-engaging more directly with small businesses and entrepreneurs and people who are really have good ideas and just haven't had a way to connect. It's been like a chokehold on the small business community.
Yeah.
Ever since the National Undersea Research Program was disbanded in 2012. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more engagement there as well.
Yeah, NOAA has gone more virtual. I mean, they go at sea, but they've moved away from putting people in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So the National Underwater Research Program, the Pisces subs out in Hawaii,
All gone.
shut down. The Aquarius Underwater Laboratory,
Hanging on
shut
by a
down.
thread.
They cut off from NOAA, but
Yeah.
fortunately, private resources are, and NASA gets it.
Yeah.
They see the value of having people in space. We need people underwater as well. Well, of course, we need robots. Of course, we need instrumentation, but to not engage humans in and the power that the human mind and spirit and all the experience in on location, uh, we'll we'll get there. That's the importance of having these little subs.
That's right. You
And
can't
not just-
surprise a robot.
And robots have no sense of humor.
No, they don't.
So we need to re-engage. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I hope by this time next year I'll be wildly optimistic.
That's right. And again, everybody can help by just being persistent and noisy and just saying we need more protection for the ocean. We need more restoration. We need more direct exploration
and more innovation.
And just keep repeating and repeating. Hopefully the politicians will eventually listen.
Unlock your superpower.
Yeah.
And you think about what you know that could not be known when I was a kid, for example, or even when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I heard Bob Ballard, the famous undersea explorer associated with the Titanic and a lot of shipwrecks, but he also has done other great underwater explorations as well. He said in 2000 that the next generation will discover more than all previous generations of human beings. That was 2000. Here we are 20 years later. And the last 20 years, your life, the lifetime of many of those listening, I trust, think of what we have learned that could not be known before we had the technology that made it possible to go deep in the sea, to communicate the way we're now communicating, to look within our own cells, to discover the micro world, and to look in the skies above. This era of discovery is really just beginning. And Ballard, although I haven't heard him say it, I'm sure he would, with confidence, say what I'm about to say, that the next generation will learn more than all preceding generations put together, because it's there to be done. This is the greatest era of exploration and discovery, just beginning right now. Aren't you glad to be part of the action?
Absolutely.
I am.
Okay, Stephanie says that her mom recently passed away unexpectedly, and they were supposed to have been getting dive certified together.
No.
So sorry. But she's asking us, are there any suggestions about getting certified solo?
Well, I think should not repeat this, but I will anyway, that one of my favorite dive buddies has said that the best diving team consists of an odd number under 3.
Now stop that.
That's solo diving.
No, this is not a good idea. But you absolutely can still get certified as a solo diver. But typically what will happen is your dive instructor will pair you up or find someone else who's in the same situation. And there are also a number of diving clubs that you can get together
in. Yeah.
Right here in the Bay Area, we have a bunch of dive instructors who they haven't really been able to go out diving as much, but they've been out snorkeling and swimming in the Bay. They call themselves the Bat Rays. And they've been gathering together and trying to recruit people to come on, go swim with us. We can all stay apart, but we're nearby if you get in trouble. And getting people involved. And so there's a large number of swim and dive clubs that you can join, and find a buddy or several buddies so that you can go out together, particularly as COVID
winds down.
Hopefully. And that's a great way to start.
Everybody gets certified as an individual. You have to learn yourself how to take care of yourself and take care
Of your buddy.
of your buddy
Mm-hmm.
if he gets or she gets into trouble. And the whole idea of buddy diving really is a smart approach, because even though you do not have to know how to, and you should always be prepared to take care of yourself, no matter what. If you get separated, or to take care of somebody else who's in trouble, you need to know what to do.
Right.
But Liz is absolutely right that by joining up with an expedition, a dive trip somewhere, if you don't have a buddy when you go in, you will be assigned a buddy. Great way to get acquainted.
That's right.
Make friends. But with submarines too, the reason that we want to have 2 submarines, buddy diving submarines, is that you can have so many advantages of having 2 out there looking and seeing beyond where just one submarine can see. And once again, if one gets tangled, heaven forbid, it has happened, could happen, the other sub is right there. I'm your buddy. I'll come get you. I have clippers. I can clip that cable that is wrapped around you.
Yeah.
Or I can see what you can't see. I can get behind and see how you can maneuver to get out of trouble. They're just, it's a smart thing to do to have a partner to dive with. That isn't to say that in some cases a submarine can dive alone.
Sure it can.
And there are some cases where and most submarines do dive alone, oh, by the way. And sometimes there are circumstances where divers do find it useful to go out solo. And certainly snorkeling, a lot of people just go out for a swim solo. But the precautionary principle really works. It really helps to have somebody who's got your back. Okay. So bottom line is, when you can, take a buddy.
But do keep in touch, and we're happy to help connect you with a good instructor in your area that can help.
Yeah. What is it? Explore.
Yeah, come to the Explore store, the Deep Ocean Explore store in Alameda. Yeah. But yeah, and find us online, of course. And
find a buddy.
But yeah, but going to even finding the public aquarium connection,
yes,
close by to where you live, can be another great way to get started and really build a good band of buddies to go.
There's the Association of Underwater Scientists too, that if you go online, if you really want to get serious as a science diver, getting certified in a more professional way that universities accept, and that you can go on serious expeditions with certification that is respected by universities and scientists. You can do it as a recreational diver. You can go through the process of becoming certified as a science diver. So lots of options out there. And once you have that certification, then you become useful to team up with scientists who are on expeditions. You can volunteer to be part of the team, and then doors open to you that otherwise might not be.
Excellent.
And get your DAN certification too. Sign up, get your DAN insurance. That opens more doors.
Yeah, the Diver Alert Network.
Yeah, it's handy to have.
Yeah.
Always.
They'll come get you wherever you get in trouble, anywhere in the world.
And give you advice and give you the magazine on diving, which is another thing for some of those asking questions about how you get connected. Take the initiative, join the organizations that are involved with what you think you might wish to participate in, and just get in the loop.
Yeah. And if you do want to find me, go to the deepoceanexplorestore.com, and we'll get you connected.
And Mission Blue.
And Mission Blue, of course, too.
We'll get you connected.
Yeah. Janet is asking us, with problems like plastic pollution taking over the ocean, it's hard to be optimistic. How do you stay so motivated and positive?
Well, you could let it drag you down. You could say, woe is me. This is impossible. And if you think that, That's the way
comes to
it'll be.
be.
It'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. But fortunately, there are tons of people out there who are not going to be dragged down, who are going to find ways to build better batteries, who are going to insist that we break the single-use plastic habit. And the kids who are just not going to let the world that they are growing up in get worse. They're going to make it better. And I want to associate with them. I want to be in the half full or more than half full, or even if it's only 1/10 full. Let's take that and run with it. Only 10% of the sharks left in the ocean, but they're not all gone. So let's save what remains and restore so that we can be at that. I mean, if you think, okay, so here we are now, the trajectory looks pretty grim, but we know we have the power to level off and go in the other direction. We can't go back. We can't be the way it was even yesterday, let alone 100 or 1,000 years ago. But we can make tomorrow better than today.
Absolutely.
And you can do it one straw extracted from the ocean at a time. But we need to do a lot more than that.
And it is. And, you know, when you start to see, and you're communicating with other people, and you start to see that small glimmer of change going on, it is reason for hope. And it does motivate you to just kind of keep encouraging others, keep encouraging yourself to just, do better by the planet. Jenny is asking, what is the current state of Seabid mining projects in the Clearing Clipperton zone, and what can we do to stop this madness from happening?
Why don't you take that one?
Well, there is a lot going on out there. The University of Hawaii is working to get back out there and do more research in that area. There's a number of commercial companies that are actively going out and doing investigative studies to see what the distribution of the nodules is, and
who lives there
and this sort of thing. But it's really going to take, to stop it. It's really hard. I mean, we've got to get after the International Seabed Authority and just keep the pressure on them to not allow the mining to commence. They've put off the vote a couple of times now this year because of COVID, but I think with the next time they convene, they are supposed to vote on whether or not they're going to allow it to happen. And once that vote goes, then
policy is
set. So right now is an awesome time to be supporting the Ocean Elders, to be supporting the other groups that are Mission Blue and others,
High Seas Alliance,
that are actively working to change or to put a stop to that policy being implemented.
It's at least a 10-year moratorium. That's more palatable to the aggressive commercial interests by saying, well, it's not no forever, but we need to hit the pause button. We need to know more, and to give the public an opportunity, give scientists the opportunity, give yourselves an opportunity to explore the real value, which may not at all be in the metals that are contained within the nodules. The real value may be to treat those nodules like a library of solutions for microbes that may have usefulness financially, economically, medically, that far outweigh what can be done if you crush these living rocks. They are alive. They're living microbes that very slowly, but they're still accumulating these metals from seawater. But they're not dead stones. These are live rocks. Corals look like they're just, dead bits of calcium. No, they're alive. They grow faster. It's more obvious that they're alive, but the bacteria within the outer crust of these fist-sized nodules it's alive. And it's more than that, it's a habitat.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind of octopus that lays eggs just on these manganese nodules. You're taking away the nursery.
Yeah.
And I mean, why does that matter? I don't know. It matters to the octopus. Why octopuses should matter to us for reasons that, you know, you shouldn't have to put a dollar value on the value of an octopus alive in its nursery. It's a miracle of life
Of adaptation
that we can destroy or we can maintain. I mean, I think about how some other big ideas that at the time really got traction and almost happened, but they got stopped in time. Go back not so long ago in human history, there almost happened that San Francisco Bay got dammed
mm-hmm.
right across the mouth of San Francisco Bay.
Big
Big
right at the
idea.
Golden Gate.
Right at the Golden Gate. Right. I mean, seemed like a good idea at the time, but somehow the public rose up and it didn't happen.
Thankfully.
It did not happen. We still have water flowing in and out of, not as much as there used to be. We
True.
managed to fill 1/3 of San Francisco Bay and had put buildings on top of it, but we don't do that anymore. You know, at least we learn. I hope we learn in time that deep sea mining is a really bad idea. There's a better use for the deep sea than bulldozing these living rocks and the habitat that exists there, the carbon storage that exists. And who knows, we don't know enough yet to have answers to all the questions or even the questions to ask. But I don't want to lose, and none of us should want to lose the opportunity to do so.
And we are seeing, you know, new medicines come from the sea all the time. And even with COVID, some of the medications and treatments have ocean tieback bacteria,
the microbes in the deep sea.
So it's an imperative that we protect the
source.
And when we're talking about the deep sea, it's not just like the bottom, but it's that whole verticality of it. So it's really
it's
why
the ocean.
It's the ocean.
It's the wet part.
It's why we need to start off with maybe just protecting the high seas as global commons.
It's half the world, roughly.
Half the world. So that combination, you know, get after the International Seabed Authority, get after
high seas
and keep after high seas protection could really make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
For those blue whales too, and the tuna.
Yep. And the microbes.
And the microbes.
And the macrobes.
So Dale is asking us, as humans destroy the planet and eliminate species, is there any merit to birthing and raising rare animals in captivity for conservation? I don't like the idea of zoos, but I'm beginning to waver.
Well, yes, there is a place. The little Hawaiian goose, the nene,
mm-hmm.
was reduced to a population of less than a dozen. Sir Peter Scott, who's a famous artist and birdman, one of the founders of the World Wildlife Fund, was instrumental in doing what seemed a terrible risk at the time, gathering that last little clutch of
gaggle
of geese, and in captivity, gradually getting the numbers to a level where they were taken back to their mountain home in Hawaii. Now I would say they're still not a safe number. You can't just have goose for dinner safely, nene. They're all protected and they should be. But they were brought back from the edge. The condor, similarly,
mm-hmm.
was a very risky thing to do, to take some of the very last California condors and raise them and gather them up. There are more condors today than when I was a kid here in California because they brought them back from the edge in time. I don't think they tried to do it with a little vaquita in Mexico, but it just wasn't that easy. The vaquita that they captured, the little dolphin, they were so frightened, they basically had heart attacks. They just died. So they finally gave up on trying to capture them to have a um, you know, bring them back from the edge in the way that the birds were done, were saved. But it's hard. But under the right circumstances, it's another tool in the box. The best thing is don't let them get to that point
right
of no return, or where the chance of survival is so low. We should have started years ago when we knew when there were hundreds of vaquita. We had to stop the gill net fishing. That is the principal reason why they have been pushed to the edge of extinction. But we didn't, and we'll probably lose them forever. So,
but it is very, I mean, aquariums, zoos, they do a laudable job, and there is a place for it, for the captive breeding of some species. But in parallel, you've got to protect
the natural
habitat,
places.
the natural places.
They have to have a home to go back to.
They've got, yeah, exactly. Like, what good would it? I mean, because now you're seeing the nene, you're seeing condors out in national parks and forests. Even with the devastating wildfires we had here that destroyed a lot of the habitat and part of the breeding facility that they had set up there, we still see that these birds have been resilient, and they are kind of coming back. So it's
and if you save a whale,
back to the blue whale.
Yeah, the blue whales. Yeah, you got to save the ocean. It's just. And in so doing, we'll save ourselves. The same is true if we somehow miraculously maintain vaquita and truly protect them, stop the fishing pressure, and give them a space, it's going to help us too. That's the part that not most people, but that some people miss, that it isn't good enough to have a condor in captivity. No. That's not a condor, really. A condor is a condor doing its condor thing in the wild. Its place in nature. It's part of the system. We need to bring all the pieces working in harmony, and to find a place for ourselves within that system. And even in our backyard, another good reason to make your little piece of the planet, if you have a little chunk of land, make it wildlife friendly. If you live in an apartment, join with others and have a city park,
an urban garden,
food
whatever forest, whatever it is.
Yeah. To give back to the natural systems that keep you alive. It seems like the right thing to do. Call it a gift to nature, but it's a gift to yourself to be able to support national parks, urban parks, whatever it takes, your own garden, and a bee-friendly garden, a monarch butterfly-friendly garden.
Yeah, they've now been listed as endangered, unbelievably.
Yeah.
So,
well, all those pesticides and loss of habitat. So good news. There's a lot of good news. People are getting it, and you can join up with them. Find those who are doing what you think needs to be done, and give them a hand.
And support the zoos that are doing a good job and working actively to not only raise and keep animals in captivity, but trying to get them back to their habitat and working with other NGOs to protect that habitat.
There is the far out. Some people would call it far out, but it's actually getting some traction. The looking to recover species that have gone over the edge by finding their close relatives and do crossbreeding and genetic recovery. I mean, it seems like science fiction, but with the wild horses.
Oh, the Perowski's horse.
Yeah. And a whole host of options. Can we bring back, for example, the passenger pigeon by crossbreeding with their close relatives and gradually getting enough of the genetic material that we can, but it takes, where do you find the genetic material? Sometimes there are sources that can be tapped into from, like the Tasmanian wolf. There's really cautious optimism that maybe they can be brought back to some semblance. And it's not good enough just to have, oh, here is a Tasmanian wolf. How did it fit into the habitat? And you can't just have one. You've got to have the ability to
viable
recover. Anyway, let's not let that happen. Let's stem the loss to the extent that we can. Protect the old growth forests where you've got this diversity, the old growth ocean where the manganese nodules are, the coral reefs, the kelp forests that are still in pretty good shape. That's what we're trying to do with Hope Spots, to hold on to the places that are in good shape and restore what we can of those that can use some help.
All right. Gigi says we have one hand raised, so maybe we can take the live question, and then we have a few more questions.
Okay.
And we'll keep going for a little bit if as long as everyone wants to stick around. And so Gigi, do you want to see if the...
Sure. April, you please unmute and ask your question. And Carolyn, if you wanted to follow up on your question, I saw your hand was raised earlier. April?
Hi, I've talked to y'all a couple of times past several months with these talks. And so first, real quick, I just want to say thank you for doing these, and Ocean Elders, Sylvia and Liz, because it's really helped me get through the difficulties of 2020. Yeah. But I have more of a personal question for both of you. What is the first thing that you want to do whenever we can go back out into the world and, you know, don't have to worry about getting COVID? Like when everything opens back up, what's the first thing you want to do?
Dive.
I figured as much.
and try to take as many people with us as we can, and really re-engage people with the water.
Yeah. Dry rot is a terrible thing. Yeah. So.
Well, I started to get my certification, and then COVID happened. And so that's on pause for now. So.
That's great. You know, it's transformative.
Yeah.
So her grandmother waited until she was 81. And I tell anybody, don't, and she would say, don't wait until you're 81. But if you are, it's not too late.
That's it. That's right. Just get out there in that water. Thank you.
Well, thank you all again so much for this year.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you, April, for being a regular attendee.
Yes, thank you.
Carolyn, please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate your just wonderful wisdom, and you motivate me a lot. I'm the one that's a teacher, middle school teacher.
Great.
And I teach an ocean science club after school too. So I'm trying to get the youngsters, you know, motivated too. They're pretty motivated though to save our planet in many different ways. And I have a friend a colleague who's an engineering teacher, and she's wondering how she can instill the hope that you have into the young minds as well. So just maybe give us some practical tips besides the organizations that you gave us. I've been copying and pasting those.
Great.
You know, engineering wise or education wise, how we can best serve our youth going forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you know, the engineering is a great area. I mean, there's so much innovation that's going on in that sector. At DOER, we are typically inundated with interns every year.
And it's a good thing.
And it's wonderful. And I try to accommodate as many as we can. And it's been one of the worst things that's happened this year is with COVID, I haven't been able to take very many. It's just been impractical. But typically we will get kids that are interested in engineering. They'll join a robotics club. They're usually building like the terrestrial robots, but then they'll come in and they'll say, well, you know, my robot doesn't work when it gets wet. It's shorted out.
Or my drone.
My drone is wet, you know.
I have to waterproof the drone.
And so we'll get those conversations going about like, well, how would you marinize it? Or if you take this device, what would need to happen if you took it underwater? And you just get those ideas percolating, and it's really.
Or how do you untangle a whale
Yeah.
from,
How do you
from fishing gear.
Right. So you start to think about
Tools.
these tools that
Mm.
that are really necessary. You know, we've had people ask me in these areas where there's a lot of litter on the bottom. Could we go along and find a way to pick up trash off the bottom the same way that, you know, now these guys want to go and take the nodules, but could we actually go pick up trash instead? And so it's great to see the kids get involved in those questions. And sometimes you just throw out a really wild question. And like we get those phone calls that I had a guy that wanted us to marinize a bobcat front loader to go underwater.
What did he have in mind?
What? he was trying to pick up old sunken logs that had fallen off of a barge.
I think one of the challenges you had was, how do you take pictures in mud?
Oh yeah. How do you get? They want to take a picture in the mud, and so we had to build sediment cameras, which is kind of a wedge-shaped device that pushes down in the mud. But then how do you get a picture of it? So we had to build a what they call a clear water cone or wedge in front of the camera that's filled with distilled water. So you have a clear window that the camera can still shoot through and see the profile in the mud below the seabed,
and to also detect oil.
And to detect areas where there's buried oil. So we use that technique after the Deepwater Horizon spill and at other areas where there's old oil spills to see how it's decaying.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
So get those kids out there, challenge them. I'm always happy to take questions by email and collaborate with you.
And remind those kids that everything starts with somebody. Somebody comes up with an idea. I mean, Google started with a couple of kids who wanted to, they're engineers, for heaven's sakes. And it could happen. Just have to cultivate your ingenuity.
Yeah. And looking at things like, a lot of the big data questions, you're working so closely with Esri, and that's another area where there's a lot of software engineers and other engineers that are looking at how do we take all this data, all this knowledge that we have, and being able to, search it, collate it, make it really useful so that we can make better decisions. That's another huge engineering area and problem that we face.
I think one of the things that would be fun with your engineer friend is to ask them to look at creatures in the sea, how they move, what do they do, and see if somehow, MIT engineers developed a system they called robo-tuna. They're trying to figure out how the tuna moves with such efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And they did robo-lobster.
That was a tricky one. All those little legs. But if you're walking on the moon, you need to be able to move around, and wheels don't hack it so much. You need to be able to crawl and get over obstacles. So anyway, kids are just fantastic because they don't know something's not possible. That's right.
Yeah.
Keep after it.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna go back to our other questions. And Kennedy is saying, as someone living in the middle of a continent, are there other ways that we can get involved with ocean preservation and cleanup? Absolutely.
Most of the trash that comes into the ocean starts upstream.
It does. And so wherever you live, you can be in a completely landlocked area. Things that you do every single day will make a difference for the ocean. So it can be, again, making those choices to eliminate single-use plastic in your life as much as possible.
And tuna fish.
Yeah. And think about
give it up.
What sense does it make to have,
wildlife in a can,
a poke bowl in, but anyway, but there's lots of things you can do in landlocked areas, starting with taking care of the fresh water, because the fresh water and the ocean are intrinsically tied together.
Yeah.
Now, when we did our episode with our friend Wyland, we talked about the Wyland Water Challenge, and things that people primarily in areas that are away from the coast, how important it is for them to get engaged with the water around them and nearby to them.
That's right. Water flows downhill.
Right. And to protect the aquifers and the bodies of fresh water that we have. There's a report recently on the Great Lakes and how much industrial and agricultural waste is polluting that vital fresh water source.
I know.
So there's absolutely, you can get involved and help protect the fresh water around you, and it will help the ocean.
For sure.
And Skylar is asking, are there volunteer opportunities that could be done remotely or online?
Interesting.
And I think the answer to that is yes, there are a lot of university groups and NGOs that are really trying to get people to do things like help them with animal identification of videos. You know, they do a big transect project and they need people to help count like how many of this species of fish
do you see
in the, you know, and so there's those sorts of things could be done from home. There's of course all kinds of advocacy projects that can happen. Even with Mission Blue, there's some projects that are going on with helping to just get people more involved in the hope spots. And
we're gathering data around the now 136 hope spots and encouraging people to add images, to add stories. So there may be a place in that range that now exists, or maybe it's an opportunity to raise your hand and say, I'm going to get behind another place that's not yet a hope spot, that you either are associated with or know someone who is. But gathering information to help expand the knowledge about each of these areas is really helpful.
Yeah,
we need
and
images and stories and data.
Even researching historical records,
right,
is a vital thing to kind of help again correlate that and track change over time. It helps to
and to get behind issues. You can sit at your computer and write a letter.
And it has impact.
It does have an impact.
It doesn't seem like it sometimes, but it does.
It makes, find out where these missiles can be fired. These verbal missiles.
Missiles of change and hope. Okay, let's see a couple more questions here, and then let's see. Nahal is asking, what about thematic cleanup and festivals and holidays, music cleanups, global cleanup days, a global hackathon for blue tech?
Well, you know, they say that so much waste, so much trash is generated around holidays.
Right?
Maybe you should take a holiday, to a big cleanup holiday. Let's celebrate modern archaeology.
It really does bring us back to, to some of the things we were talking about, just the power of one, that everybody can do something. And, around the sort of end of the year, the holiday time, again, with, the situation with COVID, where people are getting so many things that are being shipped into them, really kind of pushing for change. We've got our reusable shopping bags here. Yep. These things, why would you use gift wrap when you can put your gift into a reusable shopping bag? It's like a double gift, right?
It is a double gift.
You can do things like that. There's lots of other things that can be done to help reduce the waste.
Yeah, and if you get a good idea, share it. And
in music festivals, it's again where, there's so much waste that goes on. It's where these cups come back into play.
Bring your own
sporting
BYOC.
events. Yeah, sporting events, music events. We're seeing more people using these cups that become like a collectible or memorabilia from the festival, and you can keep using them, you collect them, and when you really get sick of them and they become clutter in your house, you can recycle them very easily. So yes, getting people really engaged around and making fundamental changes in those big venues, like a big music festival or sporting event that typically creates a ridiculous amount of waste.
Yeah, there was a time, I've seen it come, and I'm perilously close to seeing it go, where balloons were
I hate that.
Released into the sky. We know better now. We know the the cost of that, even inland. You think, well, I'm not going to hurt a sea turtle because I'm releasing this balloon fast into the sky. Oh, it's amazing how far some of these balloons travel. And even on the land, you see these lost balloons wrapped around trees.
And birds.
And birds, yes. And,
let alone the waste of helium,
oh,
for heaven's sakes.
It's seemed like a good idea at the time, but once we know, you can't unknow. And if you are part of some event where you see this as likely to happen, raise your voice.
Speak up.
Use your
advocate
your knowledge. Get out your pen.
All right,
Whatever
we're going to take 2 more questions.
Okay.
Kennedy is asking, what can young adults and teenagers do to help and support ocean preservation? All things every day.
Look in the mirror.
You really have an incredible amount of power there, just through the things you do every day, the choices you make, your social media, things that you can just inspire others to follow your lead and lead by example.
I think one of the most important things that any kid can do, and any grown-up too, is to get up to speed, read, watch Blue Planet 2, and go back and see Blue Planet 1, the BBC productions. Get your head full of what is known. How else are we going to go from where we are to get to a better place? It's about knowing that leads to caring, that leads to action. And nobody can put stuff in your head but you. And the material information is there. You can get it sometimes in school, you can get it after school, but still it starts with you kind of being willing to look and listen and learn and grow. And then the ideas will come, because you'll see something that needs to be done. And you'll look and say, well, I can do that.
I can start.
I can write that letter, or I can write that piece of music, or I can write that poem, or
I can write that code.
I can write that code. That's right. Oh, not everybody can do all of those things. Some people can, but
everyone can do
find
something.
That is you, and then go for it. And don't let anybody say you cannot, because that's the worst, where you get discouraged because somebody talks you out of it. If you really feel strongly about it, don't let that happen. Find a way.
Be persistent.
I got told a lot that
me too. So many times, like,
you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You're a girl.
Yeah.
Or you're too tall, or you're too young,
or whatever it is.
Or you're too old, or you're too this, or you're too that. Just tell them to push off and get on with it.
All right. The last question we're going to take is talking about the transformation of plastic into fuel. Jana is saying, I believe the technology is not developed enough to be used widely. Have you heard of converting plastic to fuel, and what are your thoughts about it?
It's tricky because plastic is not plastic is not plastic. It's all kinds of stuff, synthetics. And that's been part of the problem with recycling, because there are different kinds of, it's different grades that you can put this pile, that pile, and some other pile. But burning is, again, tricky because those chemicals sometimes are not exactly people friendly that enter the atmosphere. Melting them down to their basic elements is a technique that has promise, but I don't have a straight answer to your straight question, except that I think we need to look at the possibilities that are there. And the first thing is to try not to generate so much of this stuff that we call waste in the first place.
Yeah.
But once you've got it, then it's an engineering challenge. It's a people challenge. And maybe you or others listening can use their clever minds to come up with some solutions, because we really need them.
We really want to hear about them.
Don't go
Yeah.
away. And if you
No.
have a solution, share
Yeah.
that solution.
And we're here to help get solutions out there and spread the word. And
Yeah.
and we really appreciate the questions like that, because I mean, we need to figure out these problems and how to really solve them without creating worse problems for ourselves. So that's all of our questions that we have time for today. But again, just want to really encourage people to, take this time during the year end to think about what you can do for next year. Think about those resolutions that you've got. You've got lots of resolutions coming. So we've had the question about, my cat's a carnivore and I've got to feed him or her some kind of meat. So, feed them a turkey-based food. You've got people that are saying, oh, my makeup, what do I do? Well, when you're picking a cotton bed, make it one that's all cardboard, no plastic.
Right.
All these kinds of little daily things you can do. I've got the dog helping me now. Our friend over in at Saving Shayu is making, neck gaiters that are giving back to shark education. So, these are just people with ideas. The Cora ball, catching all your microplastics in the washing machine.
Microfibers, yeah.
So it just starts with people that have ideas and deciding that they are going to make a difference. And you guys can do that too.
Get a mask.
Get a mask. And again, yes, masks are made of silicone or plastic, but they're incredibly durable, and most of the good manufacturers will take them back.
This will go into a museum someday.
It might, but most of them will take them back and upcycle them. So make those buying choices carefully when you have the opportunity for upcycling and recycling at life end. So
2021, here we come.
Exactly. So we just want to say really thank you so much for coming back, joining in, and to our producers at Ocean Elders and Medley Media. And thank you again to Arnold. And Dive In is starting to feel like home to us and the thousands who have joined us in these informal, open conversations. We're so grateful for all of you. You make us believe that our dream of Dive In as a conservation platform is really coming true. We're going to come back in January, and I hope you will send in some additional questions and topics for us. And
remember, there's one thing.
One thing.
Aside from the one thing everybody can do.
Oh my gosh, this dog. Take care of the oceans.
As if
your life depends on it.
Because it does.
It really does. It does so much. We really appreciate you all. Take good care, stay safe, be well, and
onward and downward.
And get the vaccine when it comes to your area.
Twice.
Thank you. Goodbye.